10 years ago, I had an idea. That idea was to create a website, YouTube channel, something which is all about music, because music is kind of my passion. It turned out it was going to be Studio Live today, but I didn't know that right now. In fact, I was sitting over there, just over the river at the Adelaide Oval. I was watching the cricket and I thought to myself, you know what you need? It's like that Dilbert thing. The first thing you need is a name, right? The Gruntmaster 3000. Well, I needed a name, and eventually it became Studio Live today. Now, why? Well, I'll tell you that at the end of this video, but for now, I'm going to do 10 completely unscripted reflections upon the last 10 years of Studio Live today. Let's go. Number one, origin story. So where did this all come from? Well, I used to work a real job. I used to work in the corporate world for a company. I was in customer service, customer relations, sales, marketing, all those kind of things. And I kept taking more and more extended long service leaves and annual leave breaks away from my real job. And while I was doing those, I found that I was just absolutely loving creating music and listening to music and doing things in the tech space, learning more about YouTube. So it really came about because I didn't really want to do the job I was doing. And I actually started this for a while, creating videos and doing tutorials while I was still doing my full-time job. And it was folks around this community that started saying, hey, you should actually quit your job and do this sort of stuff full-time. Now that's a long way down the track, but where were we 10 years ago when I was literally over the river up there at the Adelaide Oval? Well, what was happening there was I was on one of those extended breaks 10 years ago, and I was watching the cricket, and I thought to myself, the first thing you need is a website. So I went onto my domain name and I was like, okay, I need 3 words. I liked threes. I liked things in threes. So I'm like, it's got to be studio. Maybe like home recording studio recording. I'm like, no, there's already things called that. And then I thought, Studio Live. I really wanted to do live stuff. Like, it didn't work back then because of Australian internet, basically, that we didn't have enough bandwidth to do live stuff, but I wanted to do live stuff eventually. And then I thought, well, we need one more word. And if you know anything about sales and marketing, you need words that people can spell easily without really having to think about it. So I thought, today. Studio Live today. That's got a bit of a ring to it, doesn't it? So that's what we went with. And I went to hover.com and I registered studiolivetoday.com. I set up the YouTube account, and I only found out this week from someone on a live stream that it had actually been 10 years since I first set up the YouTube account. Now, don't worry, we will do a big 10-year celebration. The first video didn't come out till February the next year, in 2016. But the website and the YouTube channel, they were both registered in November 2015. So we are at the 10 years. So that's kind of the origin story. Let's move on to number two. Number two, why GarageBand? Of all the things we could have done a YouTube channel about, why creating, recording and releasing on your iPhone or your iPad? Well, it came down to the fact that I had actually started producing music on my PC. I used a program called Cakewalk Music Creator 5, I think, or 6 or 7, I don't know. I don't remember the numbers. But I was creating, and I thought, look, this is fine, but there's got to be a better way. There's got to be something cheaper, easier. So I moved on to Reaper. So that was my second DAW, was actually Reaper on the PC. And if you've heard my song called Be Cool, that was the first song that I ever fully created, recorded and released, and that was on Reaper. And that was basically before I even started doing all of this YouTube stuff. And then the reason I got into GarageBand and iPhone and iPad is that I actually saw that, hey, hang on, I've got an iPad now, I've got an iPhone, I've got the ability to make music on this, and I honestly didn't know that you could record more than 8 bars. In fact, I've done a video since how to record more than 8 bars on GarageBand. The main reason I did that video was because I didn't know when I first started out, and most people don't know when they're first starting to record, that you can actually record more than 8 bars on GarageBand. So I learned GarageBand, and I thought to myself, hey, if I'm gonna learn this thing, the best way to learn, as I'd learned from my day job, is to teach others. So I thought to myself, why not? let's start making videos. The first video I made wasn't even a GarageBand video. It was actually about music memos, which RIP music memos, pour one out for music memos into the river. But yeah, it was about music memos, which was a great app that was sort of complementary to GarageBand at the time. That's gone away since, but you can still go back to February 2016, find that, just search Pete John's music memos if you really want to see that. But yeah, that was where we started and why it was GarageBand that we kicked off with. I saw a niche that I could exploit. Now, look, was I the first? No. We had Patrick from the GarageBand Guide. Shout out to Patrick. There were other folks creating at the time. But in terms of mobile creation, it was early days. It was very early days back in 2015, 2016. So yeah, it was just one of those things where you're in the right place at the right time, you start doing a thing. And then I realized, like, this was never a career or a money-making venture. This was just, I wanted to learn. And I thought, hey, if I don't know this stuff, and if I can't find the resources for this stuff, I can't be the only one. There must be other people that would also benefit from some of this stuff. So that's where we started. Number 3, let's talk technology. What was the technology like at the time? Well, the first recordings that I ever did were using an iPhone 5S. So yeah, that's just showing you how long ago this was. What are we at? iPhone 17. Somehow the numbers have gone up higher. I blame Apple. They skipped the 9. I want an iPhone 9. There's got to be an iPhone 9 prototype out there somewhere. I don't know why we went from the 8 to the 10, or the X, as I like to call it. I got a lot of grief early on for calling it the iPhone X. People are like, it's the 10. And I'm like, if Apple put an X, I'm calling it the X. So yeah, what sort of gear were we using? Well, it was the iPhone 5S. My iPad at the time was an iPad Air 2, which I still have. If you watched videos back in those days, you'd remember the red and blue cover that we had on that one. The audio interface was the Steinberg UR12, was probably the first notable audio interface I used back in the day, and I actually gave that one away to another creator just so that they can make more music. I've now got the Steinberg UR22C, which I've been using for 5 years. I also have a Focusrite Scarlett 2i2, which I bought pretty early on. iRig, I started buying iRig gear well before iRig would actually send me gear. So that's a whole other thing, don't worry, we'll cover that in a moment. But companies, and working with companies and sponsorships and the like. But yeah, iRig, they were early on. And then really, it was the iPhone 6S Plus, no, Max, no, I don't remember. I think it was the Plus. The 6S big one, that was the one that I created my first album on. That and the iPad Air 2 were the first album, and that was the gear I was using. In terms of guitars, still didn't have my Taylor acoustic. That came later. So I was using an older acoustic guitar that I had, that I actually got for my 21st birthday from Georgie, my wife, who those around the channel will know. And I've always had my Epiphone Les Paul. So in terms of the guitar, I had that. I bought a bass at the time. I think I spent $90 at Cash Converters. Shout out to my cashies, loving friends. Walking up a hill now, hence the puffing. So yeah, bought a bass, started recording with that. And yeah, started using virtual instruments in GarageBand as well. So that was sort of where the first album came from. And the big change over the first couple of years was recording that first EP, which I did a little bit on the channel, and then the first album, which I did entirely on the channel. So if you go back to 2016, 2017, you'll see me recording my EP called Recoil, and in 2018, I recorded and released my very first, and to this day, still only album. Don't worry, we'll talk about releasing music in a moment too. Number 4, community. And look, this is in no specific order, by the way. This is literally a stream of consciousness. I just thought, I like things in groups, and we went with 10 here. So let's go community. The community. So one of the first big communities that I was involved with was the GarageBand users community. And I'll tell you a little story here. I was actually a big fan of Patrick from the GarageBand Guide. Why? Because it was the GarageBand Guide, baby. Like back in the mid to late 20-teens, is that a thing? Patrick was it, like GarageBand Guide. And Patrick he was in his videos a little bit, but not quite as much. He was a bit of a mysterious character, and I didn't know him personally at all. And I still remember that he left a comment. I can't remember exactly what it was about, but there was something left on the GarageBand users Facebook group. And I still remember saying something along the lines of, wait, is this the GarageBand Guide? And he's like, yeah, hi, I'm Patrick. I'm from the GarageBand Guide. And it was just that weird thing of, look, 99%, I love you, Patrick, 99% of people don't know who Patrick is or who the GarageBand Guide is. You've got to be in a very specific niche, which is our niche, to know anything about this. But I just remember it was super cool. So there was a guy called Agil who started the GarageBand Users Facebook group. Steve Mara, Ron Ward, Condi Eckerly, Jude Capana. I'm forgetting people. I'm going to feel terrible when I've forgotten. Brian Bigler was involved. I'm definitely forgetting people that are a part of that mod and admin team. But that sort of taught me that I wasn't alone. There were other folks, other weekend warriors just like me, that were out there creating music that wanted to be part of this. So what did we go from there? Well, I created the Create, Record, Release Facebook group in around 2018. That's been going for a long time now. There's other Facebook groups that have been created over time. Yeah, that's what it sounds like when you cross the road here in Australia. So there's other Facebook groups around. I tried the Discord thing for a while for community. That didn't work so well. Obviously community around this channel is big. I moved into Patreon as far as community goes. And more recently, YouTube added their community channels. So now many of you are members of the YouTube community as well as Patreon, as well as donating to my channel and doing all those lovely things you do. But it really did start with Facebook. Like, Facebook was the big thing. And you can say what you will about Facebook and Meta. I agree. Whatever you're going to say about them, I probably agree. But you can't deny that the Facebook groups feature brought a lot of like-minded creators together creating music. And I do have a lot to thank for that. I've met many cool people. And again, I wouldn't know Patrick from the GarageBand Guide if it wasn't for Facebook. So shout out to you, Patrick. There's a school over here, so I'm going to turn off my camera for a while and I'll meet you over there in the Botanic Gardens. Number 5, and I'm actually glad that I'm out exactly here for this, because the number 5 sort of reflection on this is finding the time and the place to do what you can. You can probably hear that over there is the school children yelling and screaming. Over this side is actually the bat zone. Now I'm going to come over here and show you the bat zone as we do this. But if you follow this channel for a long time, you know that I love to walk, I love to be out in nature, and I love to be out and about. And back when I was working a full-time job as well as doing this, I would have to kind of balance things, yeah? I would have to do a lot of the recordings that I'm doing right now in my lunch break. I now have the privilege of being able to do this as my job, so I get to kind of choose where I go. This is the bat zone. Yeah. They've kind of gone to town on these trees a little bit, but there are big fruit bats or flying foxes. Yep, you can see them going across the top there. I may get swooped if I hang out here too long, so I'm not going to stay stationary. No, they're actually, they're cool. They're kind of a metaphor, aren't they? Because they keep to themselves. They kind of remind me of me. You might be big and awkward and flappy and, no, okay, no. It broke down, the metaphor broke down. Oh, that was a different bird. I thought a bat was coming there. But yeah, they just chill. So they chill and do their thing. They're kind of quiet, they're kind of laid back, but they also have a lot to offer. I don't know, this analogy is 100% breaking down. I just wanted to reflect on with number 5, the fact that, yeah, for me, the ability to be mobile. And look, it's getting better than ever. I'm using the new DJI Mini mic here today. This is the best mobile mic I've ever used. And yeah, it's just getting better and better in terms of being able to do things wherever you are. The early days, I still remember recording things and having to like shelter in like wind-free zones, hide behind trees. If you go back to 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, all the videos I was producing, I was like out and about, but I was like cupping over things or trying different microphones or doing different things. It was hard. But yeah, the fact that still mobile creating is such a massive thing, I'm kind of happy with. By the way, there you go. You can read that. Hit pause if you want to find out. And look, the fact that there's bat poop on the bat sign, yeah, that's kind of cool. Number 6, let's talk sponsorships and companies and brand deals and all that sort of stuff. By the way, there's a crow up there, or a raven. South Australia, very renowned for our crows and our ravens. This is the Ginkgo Gate at the Adelaide Royal Botanic Gardens, and this is a place where I like to walk around because it's just super peaceful. In fact, you probably hear that my voice goes a bit David Attenborough when I walk in here, because you just go from like the pandemonium of the high school across the road into this beautiful environment. So this is where I do a lot of my thinking and planning. Yes, you're very impressive. I don't have any food for you though. Sorry. Quoth the raven, nevermore. So let's talk about companies, brands, sponsorships. I didn't get into this for any of that. I know. These days, the whole influencer culture seems to be around, and this is an old man yelling at clouds. The whole influencer thing seems to be around. I want stuff for free. I want brand deals. I want sponsorships. I want to be an influential person. I didn't want any of that. I can honestly tell you that my goal to start with was for me to learn how to make music using my iPhone and my iPad in GarageBand. That was it. And then weird things started to happen. Strange things are happening, like in Toy Story. Toy Story 2, I think. Strange things started happening, and that was that companies started reaching out to me. And I forget who the first company, I think the first company that reached out to me was probably someone that you've never heard of and that I've never heard of and I've never thought of since. Early on, it was like those Amazon companies that made the knockoff versions of other things that would reach out. And if you've ever done any sort of creating, I don't care how many subscribers you have or views you get or followers you have, you've probably had these same emails or contacts where they're like, hi, and it usually doesn't have your name because they don't know or they don't care. Hi, I represent amazing brand. We are making good cables for you to use. Would you like sponsorship us? We will pay you $350 USD for favorable review on your YouTube channel. Thank you. And you're like, And look, early on, did I reach out to a couple? Sure. Did I do a couple of reviews? Probably. I can't really remember. You can probably look back on the channel and find them. They'd be tagged as promotional content because I was always a good boy and always tagged them. But yeah, early on, that's where it came from. And it wasn't until later on that I started getting contacted by IK Multimedia. They saw that I had a few thousand subscribers and they're like, hey, if we send you our what would it be at that time, the Pro IO, can you review it and show it on your channel? And I'm like, I was new to this. I'm like, yes, I can. And I looked it up and I'm like, is this payola? What's going on here? And it turns out that yes, you can. You can do this. It's sponsored content, or if you get it for free, it's paid promotion. And or as long as you tag it as that, and as long as you declare it in your video, then it's fine. And here I was thinking, so early on, a lot of the companies said to me, all right, you must say this and this and this and this. We get final vetting on your video, and we prefer it if you didn't mention that we gave it to you for free or that we're paying you. And I thought that was dodgy, and I still think that's dodgy. If you want to do that and you can live with yourself and you can sleep well at night, more power to you. But I think that's dodgy. And as a consumer, I don't want to get reviews from people that are being paid that are not telling me that they're reviews. Different if they're saying it, if they say this is a paid review. And the reason I say all that is that it moved on from there. So DistroKid are a major sponsor, still are a major sponsor of this channel. Love DistroKid. I was using them for years beforehand. And when they reached out to me and said, we would like to sponsor some videos, it was a no-brainer, right? Because I was already using that company and I knew that they were cool. Same with IK Multimedia. I'd heard of them. I've heard of the iRig. I'm like, wow, that's a really cool thing. So yeah, of course I will try that out. And then the big one was when the very first time that I got it, and I must admit, I didn't think it was real. I got an email from Apple and I spent a good 24 hours looking at this email and checking the address and checking that it was legit and checking that it was actually from Apple. You know that feeling you get where you're like, it's too good to be true? But look, they weren't offering to, buy my channel or pay me millions of dollars, but they wanted to give me the latest iPad to check out and see what I thought. And I was like, what's the catch here? Are they going to tell me I have to say nice things? And they're like, no, we like your channel. We like what you do around here. And it was so different because all the other companies have been saying, oh yeah, would you like to do this thing? And they obviously clearly had no idea who I was. This is Palm House here. Oh, it's really hot in here. It's like a greenhouse in here because it's legitimately a greenhouse. Beautiful spot though. There's succulents around here, native succulents over there. Oh, it's a beautiful spot. So Apple was probably the biggest company that had ever reached out to me, and I was like, this is quite daunting, right? What do I do with this? And thankfully I said, okay, let's test the waters here. And again, I'm not paid by, a lot of people say, oh, you're an Apple fan person, you must be paid by Apple. No, never received a single payment from Apple. I can tell you that hand on heart. But Apple have given me access to their gear, and I've tested it out, and I give you my honest view. And that's, I think, the thing. I think the thing with brand deals and sponsorships, if anyone was starting out, I know this has been a long section, if anyone was starting out with a YouTube channel or wanting to be a quote-unquote influencer, just be honest. I think that people's bullshit detectors are pretty strong these days, especially in the world of AI slop. People know when stuff's real and when stuff is really not real. So the more honest and open and clear you can be with your communication, I think the better you're going to do. So yeah, so that's what I've got to say about that. Look, there's a whole lot of other things around reading contracts, around non-disclosure agreements, around privacy clauses. The less of them that I get involved with, the happier I am. So I try not to seek them out, but when they come up, things like when Logic Pro was being released and Apple let me look at it early, that was great, obviously. I enjoyed that because I was the one that said it's never coming. So I was wrong, and it was very cool when they were right. That's all I'm going to say about that. Let's move on to the next one. Number 7, let's talk about sharing your music. And let's talk about how daunting it is the first time that you choose to share music. And I don't care how old you are, I don't care how experienced you are, every time you put something out in the world and you say, this is my thing, and feel free to judge it now, that's daunting. And especially for us creative and, let's be honest, sensitive types. I'm sensitive. I cry at sad movies. I have emotions. I'm like this. I'm up and down, as most of us are. If you're honest, and if you actually are going to admit how you feel, you're probably the same way, and that's okay. We don't all have to be the alphas. In fact, I think there's something quite concerning about the culture of alpha, especially within men these days, that we feel that we have to be the tough one. But it can be tough when you're sharing your music, because this is your baby. This is the thing that you've been working on. And I still remember the first time I was even recording music live, recording music to camera to then share on the channel, I would get up ridiculously early. It was during a time where all of my family would be elsewhere. They would be like, they would be upstairs. So I'd get up early, I'd come downstairs, I'd go into like a walk-in robe where no one could see me, no one could hear me, and I'd do my recording. And that was my way of kind of going, all right, I'm gonna do this, but I need to do it on my terms. And the first time I did that, recording my music, because the first couple of tutorials I did were like music memos. Here's how you use music memos. They were very instructional. But it wasn't until I started recording my first EP called Recoil, you can check it out, you can still see the videos on the channel. It wasn't until then that it really hit me that I was going to be sharing, kind of revealing myself and sharing a little bit of my soul in these songs. I'm getting all choked up. No, I think I just swallowed a dragonfly. Well, no, not a dragonfly, a small fly. But yeah, sharing your music can be really difficult. So if you said to me now that I would have not only shared somewhere in the vicinity of 50 different songs, an album, 3 EPs, using DistroKid, our wonderful sponsors here on the channel, that I've had a Bandcamp page, that I've got music videos of me walking around these very areas that I'm in now, creating music, and that I've helped countless numbers of other people create and record and release and share their music, yeah, I'd probably have called you a liar, because I didn't think that was on the cards for me. But it just goes to show that you just got to try these things. You got to do things, and the bravery that people show in just sharing their music, I'm never going to downplay that. Every week I do a show called Your Music Live, plug, promote. Every week I do this show and people share their music. And every week I'm amazed at how brave folks are to say, I made this, it's art, here it is, I'd love for you to experience it. It's a great thing. So yeah, reflecting on my journey, look, the thing that I'm most proud of is probably that I've helped other people that maybe wouldn't have had the courage. If they didn't see me doing it, if they didn't go, geez, if that bloke can do it, why can't I? And that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be that mirror to hold up to folks to say, if I can do it, so can you. Number 8, let's talk about YouTube itself. The YouTube journey that I've taken. Was my timing perfect for YouTube? No. Was it terrible? Also no. It was somewhere in between. So YouTube in 2020, 2021 was a pretty cool place. Like, a lot of folks got into YouTube around about that time because they looked at it and they were like, wow, people are getting lots of views, people are making lots of money, people are doing lots of cool things on YouTube. Maybe I want to be a YouTuber. And that's kind of where it started, this whole kids wanting to be a YouTuber thing. And look, I say to my kids, if they ever need me to come to their school and do like a public service seminar for their friends on why you shouldn't be a YouTuber, I would love to do that. And look, not to discourage folks, let's calm that part down. But the point is, it's not easy. I know, get out the small violins for me, because we're going to talk about how hard it is to be a creator. We'll talk a little more about that in a moment as well. But we're going to talk about the challenges that you have. And when I started out, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, it was a grind, man. It was tough. Finding the inspiration, working out how the algorithm was going to respond to different videos, dealing with comments, managing the growth. Like, you can say, there's a thing that says that, look, success is wonderful, but it can be just as hard adapting to success as adapting to failure. And the other problem was that what I saw a lot of folks doing, especially as we went through 2020, 2021, was that they had started in the perfect storm. Let's be honest, the inconvenience from back in 2020 was the perfect storm. Everyone was stuck at home. People were watching YouTube. They were learning new things. The amount of people that found my videos, bought an iPhone or an iPad, maybe through my affiliate links, bought an interface, bought a microphone, bought a new guitar. All of that was great for me, because part of my revenue is affiliate revenue through Amazon, eBay, places like that. And then they would watch a bunch of my videos, and then they would create their music, and then they would share it on my Your Music live show, and then they would come along and watch all the live shows. This was the perfect moment for YouTube. And then what happened? Well, the borders opened up. Thankfully, things got better. People were allowed to go back outside, touch the grass, and YouTube went down. What else happened? All of that boom economy for the companies that were buying ads on YouTube, that also went down, didn't it? So there were a lot of companies that were making a lot of bank because people were using their technology. Think about Zoom during that time, and poor Skype, who, I don't know how they crapped the bed, but anyway. But you think about the companies that were just, making hay while the sun shines. And look, the downside of that is that now we've seen the turnaround, and we've seen all of these same companies laying off by the thousands and tens of thousands talented people, because they just went higher, 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 higher. This is a heyday that will never end. The bubble will never burst. Then the bubble burst. And what I'll say about this, people often ask me, they're like, what advice would you have if I was going to start out right now as a YouTuber, as a content creator, as an influencer, as whatever you want to call it? What is your advice? And I give the same advice that Bobby Owsinski gave me. If you don't know Bobby Owsinski, amazing producer, recorder, producer, engineer, mixer, masterer. He's a really cool dude. And I actually emailed him very early on in my sort of YouTube creation journey. And I says to Bobby, what advice do you have? I've always been about asking people that are more talented and more knowledgeable, that are more experienced than I am, about what they think. And he said that your success, he would much rather work with people who are resilient, who are consistent, and who will stick to things, than people that are really super talented. Because super talented people get very bored quickly and easily. I'm paraphrasing, he didn't say exactly that. But really talented people aren't always the folks who will stick to things. And consistency over time, delivering consistent content, is going to trump it every time. And every time I turn on the camera, that's what I think about. Number 9. And look, I don't love talking about this, but people are interested in it. I get asked about it a lot. How on earth do you make a full-time wage working for YouTube, not for YouTube, but being a YouTuber, being an influencer, a content creator. And to that I would say, the whole reason I say that people shouldn't do it for the majority of folks is that it's not easy. It's not simple. It's not for everyone. It's not something where you just start making videos and then someone starts paying you. The grind of finding multiple revenue streams and putting it together into a full-time wage. If I was a lazy person, I would work a full-time paid job. I would work a job for a company where they just pay you a set wage to do a thing, even if I didn't love it as much. And that's not saying that I'm the most motivated person ever, and I'm not. Like, sometimes, as you'll find out in the next piece, sometimes just stuff happens and you just can't even. But for the most part, the key to doing something, to being any independent creator or any independent job or any independent contractor or any independent business owner, is to have multiple streams of revenue. You can't just rely on the one stream. You can't just say, oh look, because look, I'm going to be honest with you, I was making close to a full-time wage in 2020 monthly with just what YouTube were paying me. I still remember the day that I went and said to my wife, hey, because I'd just been made redundant from my full-time job and was transitioning over to this full-time. And I said, tell you what, my last monthly pay from YouTube ad revenue, that's almost enough for me to live on. Little did I know, well, I did know. I knew that in a few years' time, that would all change. That wouldn't last, that wouldn't be the way it was forever. And I had to find other streams. So for me, the multiple streams, if you're wondering, it is sponsorships. So things like DistroKid, did videos for BandLab and a few other companies over the years as well. It is Amazon and other affiliate revenue. So every time you use my gear guide and you buy something from there, I get a little tiny chunk. Usually it's 1 or 2%. So you know what? If you want to buy something, you're welcome to do that. But I do have to tell you that those are affiliate links over there. I sell merchandise like this t-shirt and like the mugs that you can get at studiolivetoday.com/merch. I sell my music on Bandcamp, as well as through DistroKid and streaming platforms, so you can stream my music. And I have Patreon and I have the YouTube membership, and I ask for donations. And look, is that the most natural thing? Do I love sitting there and going, please like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell on YouTube, donate with the super chat and the super stickers and the PayPals and the memberships and the Patreons? No. Did it feel really gross for the first couple of years? Yes, it took me a long time to actually start doing these things and embracing them. But I figure if I'm not providing a service, in fact, if I'm providing a service to you and you're like, well, rather than go through all these middle people and then delivering that, if I can just say, I like this creator, I'm going to chip them a couple of dollars, I do that. I love doing that. I love the fact that we have the ability to actually support independent creators. I love independent media. I love independent creators. I love small business. This is, to me, the antidote of what's going on in the world of big business these days. So, yeah, I think that... yeah, that's all I've got to say about that. Not to be all Forrest Gump, but yeah, look, it's a bit weird to talk about finances and revenue and all that sort of jazz. But yeah, I'm able to actually feed the children and keep the lights on through doing this. And 10 years ago, wasn't even an option. So pretty grateful for that. The 10th and final thing that I wanted to talk about, and yes, I'm coming here deep into the bushes, even though I'm next to a main road, but this microphone's going to hold out well. I have faith in it. Is mental health and burnout and the challenges of doing this over the last 10 years. Has every moment been perfect? No. Has everything been a walk in the park? No. Are there days where, despite the fact that my job is literally to wake up, turn on a camera, and record videos about music, something I am super passionate about, my joy, my life, and some days I just don't feel like doing it. But I do it anyway, And that's the same with any job. And I don't say that to be discouraging for folks that might think that they want to do this sort of thing, or to make you get out your tiny violins again and say, oh, well, yeah, Pete's complaining. He's got the world's most perfect job and he still finds a way to complain. But I just say to say that life's like this, right? YouTube's like this. Being a creator is like this. Being a human is like this. So you're going to have your peaks, you're going to have your troughs, and you're going to have your bits in between where you're just going to flatline. And all of those are fine. All of those help you on your lifelong journey. Not to get too philosophical here, but without the dips, without the lows, would the highs feel as good? Without the boredom. I worry about this in today's society. My kids aren't bored enough. Without those times where you're bored, how do you know when things are exciting? Without misery, is there ecstasy? I don't know. I'm not sure. But I do know that I've had an absolute blast the last 10 years. We will do a big proper celebration in February, celebrating the first video, 10 years of the very first video that we produced here on the channel. But yeah, because I was reminded that the channel itself, according to YouTube, and who would not believe YouTube, is actually 10 years old, I thought, let's celebrate this. Let's have a chat and let's reflect on this. And I like these long form videos where people bare their souls and tell you everything they think about a topic. And I hope you do too. And if you don't, 5-minute GarageBand tips here on the channel. All right. Just like we're finishing up by going from serenity back to insanity here on North Terrace with all the traffic and all the cars, it must be time for me to head home and leave behind this and get back to the studio and do some more videos. Thanks for watching this one. It's meant a lot to me that you've hung with me for these 10 years, and here's to 10 more. Be kind to yourselves, be kind to others, keep creating. Bye for now.